The sound of coins sliding across wood can be strangely loud when the world has gone quiet. That morning, in the little bakery that smelled of yeast and sugar, I heard every penny scrape the counter as if each was a cry for help. His hand shook. As he placed them down one by one, pausing as though praying the next coin might multiply into enough, his eyes did not search for pity. They searched only for bread, and bread alone. He came up short by 17 cents, and in that small gap lay the weight of his dignity. I was there by accident, really. The bakery wasn't part of my routine. Something had drawn me in: the warmth, the coffee aroma, or perhaps fate. Man stood 2 customers ahead of me, his coat sagging from his thin frame, the edges frayed where winters had gnawed at it. Shoes were worn through at the soles, each step whispering surrender. Still, he counted his pennies carefully, like a soldier taking roll call of fallen comrades. 1 penny, 2, 3, a sigh, 4, 5. Each coin seemed to echo, as if the whole shop was holding its breath. The cashier's voice was soft when she told him the total. "It's 185, sir." He had 167. Silence. That followed was heavy, broken only by the impatient throat clear of a man behind me. Someone muttered, "Just let him go, it's holding up the line." The words stung more than they should have, because they weren't aimed at me, yet I felt them cut into my chest. But the old man straightened then, shoulders trembling, not from defiance, but from pride. That loaf of bread was not food, it was survival. Survival sometimes is the only thing that keeps a person human. The cashier should have done what most would: push the pennies back, say sorry, move on. Instead, she hesitated, eyes softening. Her hand slipped quietly into her apron pocket. She pulled out her own folded bill, and with a motion as small as breathing, she made the register ding. The bread slid across the counter as though nothing unusual had happened. But I had seen it, and so had the old man. His lips parted with a gasp of broken, fragile sound. "I'll pay you back," he whispered, his voice shaking with shame and gratitude entangled. She shook her head. "Feed yourself first. That should have been the end of it. One act of mercy in a cruel world. But kindness is like fire. It spreads faster than we realize." The boy behind me tugged his mother's sleeve. "Can we help too?" he asked, his voice small but certain. She nodded, slipped coins into the tip jar, and the ripple began. "Order the..." Customer, his hands rough with work, ordered 2 loaves and then deliberately left one behind on the counter, as if forgotten. The cashier smiled faintly but said nothing, honoring his disguise of generosity. Strangers began adding to the jar, leaving extra change. Tiny droplets in a rising tide. Kindness nugget number 1. Science proves kindness is contagious. Witnessing just one act makes you 3 times more likely to help someone yourself. In that bakery, we were proof of that truth. But still, there was more no one yet knew. When the man shuffled out, clutching his bread to his chest like it might crumble if held too tightly, I couldn't look away. He walked to the curb, sat down heavily, and tore the loaf in half with trembling fingers. Then, with ritual-like care, he placed half into a worn paper bag. From the alley nearby, a little girl appeared. Too thin, with eyes far too old for her years. She clutched the bag like treasure, and he stroked her hair gently as though shielding her from every storm in the world. That's when I realized. This wasn't about hunger alone. It was about survival shared. 2 lives bound by loss and love. Later, whispers revealed the truth. She was his granddaughter, the last of his family. He had lost a son to a fire, a wife to illness, and what remained of his strength was now poured into keeping this child alive. Every penny counted was not just currency, it was dignity. Sometimes dignity is the last thread holding someone to life. Word of what happened spread in ways that stories of cruelty never seemed to. People left notes at the bakery for anyone who needs it. Envelopes with coins, folded bills, coupons for milk. Kids came in with sandwiches wrapped in foil, leaving them accidentally behind. A church group taped grocery cards to the window. One mechanic scribbled, "Blue van repairs covered, no questions," after spotting the man's rusted vehicle. The shop became more than a bakery. It became a heartbeat. Kindness nugget number 2. Psychologists say the elderly do not fear death as much as invisibility, the terror of being unseen, unheard, unnoticed. Small kindness proves they still matter. That cashier had done more than feed a man. She had made him visible again. Through her, others remembered how to see. Weeks passed. The man's steps grew steadier, his granddaughter's cheeks less hollow. And then came the night of the storm. Rain battered the glass, wind howled through the cracks, and the bakery stayed open late for stranded stragglers. The old man entered, granddaughter in tow. But this time, he didn't count pennies. Instead, he placed a worn leather-bound diary on the counter. His voice cracked as he said, "This belonged to my wife. I cannot repay the 20, but I can give you our story." Inside were poems written in looping script, pressed flowers that had long since browned, sketches of a young woman laughing. The bakery went silent. The cashier's eyes welled. Customers gathered, listening to fragments of a love story trapped between fragile pages. In that moment, it was no longer about debt or bread. It was about legacy, shared like an heirloom with strangers who had become family. Kindness nugget number 3. Research shows storytelling builds empathy bridges, reminding listeners they're not alone. Pain shared becomes pain halved. Hope shared becomes hope multiplied. The cashier later said the diary was the most priceless repayment she had ever received. Not because of the words, but because of the trust. After that night, the bakery transformed fully. A corkboard went up where people pinned prayers, offers for babysitting, odd jobs, handwritten recipes, and thank you notes. The granddaughters. Drawings appeared there to crayon sons, stick figures holding hands. It became a wall of proof that even in hard times, humanity still breathes. The old man changed as well. No longer just a shadow, he began greeting people, sharing stories, even fixing broken chairs outside the bakery with tools lent by strangers. He found dignity not in coins, but in connection. His granddaughter laughed more freely, her voice light and bell-like. And through it all, the cashier remained humbly in the background, refusing recognition. "It's not about me," she whispered. "Once, it's about us remembering what we're capable of." And then came the final twist. One early morning, before the bakery opened, there was a knock at the door. No customer stood there, just a cardboard box. Fruit and a note written in a child's uneven handwriting for the next hungry soul. Kindness had come full circle, passing from one generation to the next, proving that hope, once sparked, refuses to die. The moral is simple, yet profound. Kindness doesn't erase sorrow, but it threads light through the darkest cracks. It doesn't need applause, headlines, or hashtags. It needs only one willing heart to begin, and the rest will follow. And next week, you'll hear of the forgotten child whose song silenced an entire city.